Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Next time when you think about investing in some European countries or in the United States of America or Canada, or if you want to use their banks, and you purchase or you have some assets, think about the fact that the possibility, very high probability that if you say or you do something that certain individuals do not like, your assets could be frozen and taken from you. And the reason could be that they didn't like what you did or what you said. Now, without being necessarily something illegal that you did, that your assets could be involved and as punishment. And this article comes from Reuters from July 12, 2022, and this is the title: EU has frozen 13.8 billion euros of Russian assets, official says. So the European Union has so far frozen 13.8 billion euros, which is $13.83 billion, since now they have the same value, worth of assets held by Russian oligarchs, other individuals and entities sanctioned for Moscow's war against Ukraine, the bloc's top justice official said on Tuesday. So if I have a quarrel with a neighbor here, I don't know, my assets from, let's say, Minnesota will be frozen by the authorities over there. They don't let the channels of, of justice to say their say and the investigation and figure out who's who, what's what. They simply do that. They determine that you are in, it's your fault or something. Therefore, they seize your assets. I'm talking about properties or money in the banks. The official said that the vast majority of that comes from 5 of the EU's 27 member states only, calling on others to step up. The bloc currently has 98 entities and nearly 1,160 individuals blacklisted for Russia's role in Ukraine. Well, if you look like the role in Ukraine is the people who made the decision. Otherwise, you can extend that list to each and every individual or citizen of the Russian Federation, since they all pay taxes, still go to work and support the country's so-called war machine. So if you want to extrapolate it, then any Russian citizen is guilty. Any little business that pays taxes to the government is guilty of supporting their country. So then what are you going to do? You're going to blacklist them all? You say oligarchs. Okay, an oligarch is a businessman. Called like that, you have no evidence that they did anything wrong. It's just that they have a lot of money in a very short period of time. And the possibility is they probably did some hanky-pankies. But who didn't do that after 1991? A lot of people did. And they are in London, and they are in Israel, and they are in Washington, D.C. And nothing happens with those guys, because those guys are protected, because they talk bad about their country and their leaders of their country. Now, an oligarch is a businessman. And a businessman has a business that makes money and has a lot of money. Why are those people guilty of anything? Because they have money? Or because why? What they're supposed to do? They're supposed to immediately condemn something? What if they don't want to do that? They have nothing to do with that. What do you want them to do? Do they want them to do? You want them to pull their business out of Russia? Or take their money and give it to you? What exactly is wrong with those oligarchs? They're businessmen. It's like you sanction Henry Ford because Henry Ford, let's say, he did not like a certain kind of group, if you remember that. So I don't know, it's just And that's only the oligarchs. I'm not talking about the citizens and their business. So it says here that the role in Ukraine. What role in Ukraine? For the moment, we have frozen funds coming from oligarchs and other entities worth 13.8 billion euros. It's quite huge. Yes, it is. What are they going to? That's really that's stolen. But a very large part, more than 12 billion, comes from 5 member states. So we need to continue to convince others to do the same. And then he says here, he told reporters on arriving to a meeting of the national justice ministers in the Czech capital Prague. He did not identify the five countries and the EU's executive European Commission, where Reynders is a top official, declined to name them. It's very easy to know who's who, what's what, right? It does not include frozen assets of the Russian Central Bank, which the Commission said in May amounted to 24 billion euros. The executive has not updated the number since given that number countries are not obliged to report on that. Legal tool. Let's see the legal tool. Transparency International said secrecy around the matter is that a crime, as well as EU countries' worrying willingness and capacity to go after Russian assets were compromising effective implementation of sanctions. This lack of transparency is a big problem, said Roland Papp, Transparency International's expert for tracking illicit financial flows, adding most wealth was hidden in often inscrutable trusts and shell firms rather than flashy yachts. And they woke up just right now when those guys invaded Ukraine to find these guys, a lack of transparency. The policy, it says, Reynders said that he expected a final political agreement after the summer on a new legal tool to make breaching or attempting to bypass sanctions a criminal offense everywhere in the US and the EU, which is not the case currently. So then how can you act upon something that is not a policy yet? The policy meant to curb circumventing restrictions by targeting assets to family members who had not been sanctioned could take effect in the autumn. It's just, from what I'm reading here, it's not convincing. It's not convincing to me that they can say, you know what, this is the international law right here, law 36-45 BS, and based on that law or on that policy, or how do you want to call that, this is what's written over there. Therefore, those guys, based on our investigations, it's been revealed that they are doing this, and they're violating this or breaking this law. I haven't seen anything like that in any article that I read about freezing Russians' assets or whomever. The only thing I heard is Russia bad, Russia invaded, therefore we take the right to do whatever we want. And when Russia is going to react to these things, they're going to start crying and going to say, hey, you see, we told you Russia is bad. It's unbelievable. But anyway, I'm not defending those guys. I don't give a damn. I don't know them. I don't care. From what I know, it's just that they can't make this much money in such a short period of time, most of them. But who knows? I don't have any evidence on the contrary, so I can't, say. It's just a gut feeling, if you want to call it that way. But to act upon something like you're a bad country because you did that to those guys, but you know that the truth is somewhere in between. It's not, oh, those are the bad guys. Because to be honest and be fair, there are so many things that Ukraine did that should not have done, that prompted the Russians who, let them know and let the West know for about 8 years after 2014 to not do this and do that. They even had the Minsk agreements. The Ukrainians were told not to implement them by their sponsors. And they didn't do anything about it. So what did you expect? You just like asked to be punched in the face. So if you're about, assigning blame, it's many people, many players who can be assigned, and ascribed blame. But you see, the world doesn't function as a honest, fair, how they say, rule-based international community and BS like this. No. So yeah, they decided to freeze another 13 billion or something. All right. I think I made my point, or at least said what I had to say about this thing. And obviously we can have different opinions on this, or different assessments, or preferences, or how you want to call them, but I don't see, if the other side would be clean as the crystal, I would understand. Okay, those guys are bad guys, but none of the other side, those on the other side are clean. This is hypocritical. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.